Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I am Danielle, aka Stitcherista here on YouTube, and today is going to be another diamond paint with me. I've had coffee this morning already while I continue working on Treasure Studios art Cherry Blossom by Lizzie Falcon. I am hoping to get this black done today. Now, my job today does not start till 1 o'clock, so even if I don't finish it by the end of the video, I'll sit here and do that little bit because it's only 9:15 and I'm at TCB today taking care of business. I've been getting stuff done. Yeah. I still have to walk on the treadmill, put away laundry, get myself cleaned up, but I'll be good. Yeah. Okay. Before I sit down, because I'm standing right now, do you guys love candles? I love candles. I like Yankee Candle, like the wax melts. They're so awesome. And their jar candles are good too. But I have to say my favorite jar candles, I'm going to show you because I have one going. Can you hear crackling? Can you hear that? It's WW Trilogy. This one is a trilogy because 3 layers of candles, fireside, redwood, and sandalwood clove. It crackles like a fireplace. I love it. Now, these are sold at Kohl's, but I actually went on Amazon and ordered another one of that fireside because it literally smells like a campfire in a good way. It smells so good. And, yeah, it smells so good. But I love the crackling sound. So today I'm going to have that candle burning in my office when I'm working. But I thought I would have it out here too. You guys might be able to hear the crackling. Okay. So yesterday, I got stuff done. I put all of those dates. It's 50 days. 50 days worth of jobs for the rest of the year for this evidentiary hearing. So I was able to get them all on the calendar, get coverage for all the dates, which that took me like 2 hours to do all that stuff. Talked to my boss for about 45 minutes on the phone about it. And I'm just hoping that it goes well. It's going to be really good money because it's a quicker turnaround time for all those dates, so we will make more money, which can't really complain about that. But it could just be some potentially, long days. We'll see. Luckily, it's not like straight through for the next 5 months. There are some breaks in there, and there are some weeks where we only have it like 2 days or 3 days. So, but there's a span of time where we have it 3 weeks in a row. That's probably going to be like, oh my fucking God, right? But yeah, will be some good money. So, like I said, can't really complain about that. Okay, so not yesterday. I forgot to tell you guys this. Remember I kept saying, I got to try on my bathing suit. I got to try on my bathing suit. I got to try on my bathing suit because my bathing suit, I remembered that I had this red one piece that was like a retro bathing suit like they wore back in the 50s where it like came down into like shorts. And that's the one I thought that I had. And I kept saying to Bill, I got to try it on. I got to try it on. I got to try it on because our vacation's going to be here in like 2 weeks. So if it didn't fit, I need to get another one. So what day was it? Sunday? I think it was Sunday. No, it was Monday because I was off work. When he came home from work, he went downstairs and was watching TV and he's like, oh, you know what you need to do? He said, you need to try on your bathing suit for me. And I'm like, oh my God, I do. I said, okay, I'm literally going to do that right now. Well, when I went in the drawer to pull out my bathing suit because I keep it in a certain drawer in my dresser, I forgot that there was actually a second bathing suit. The red one that I thought I had was in there, but there was another one that was like a tankini where it was shorts, black shorts with like a rainbow waistband, and then the top was like all rainbow that matched the waistband. And I'm like, oh my God, I totally forgot I had this one. So I tried that one on first, and it fit. It fit. I couldn't believe it. I said to Bill, I'm like, I don't have to buy a new bathing suit now. I was so glad, because just to try to find one or spend the money, I'm like, I'd rather spend the money on cross stitch. Right? Yeah. So I tried it on, and I looked at myself in the mirror, and I'm like, wow, it actually fits. I'm not having to pull at it. He's like, yeah, it looks pretty good on you. And then I thought to myself, what the fuck did it look like when I was 30 pounds heavier? It must have been skin fucking tight. It must have looked. Now, I like to think that I'm pretty proportional with my weight, meaning nothing on me is really huge. Everything is, when I gain weight, I gain it everywhere. Do you know what I mean? But I was like, oh my God. So, but yay, don't have to buy a new bathing suit. Let's go. Yeah. The only thing I'm not upset, but our vacation, so is the beginning of September. It's like that Thursday, Friday, and I actually booked that Wednesday, thinking my boss was supposed to be on vacation that Monday and Tuesday, and I thought, she'll probably come back and not want to work on Wednesday. We'll be able to head out Wednesday when Bill gets home from work and have an extra day. Well, now we have that fucking hearing. She's coming back from her vacation early, so she doesn't miss the first 2 days of the hearing. And so I told Bill, and he says he's okay with it. I was like, we're not going to be able to leave to go until like 6 p.m., 6:30 p.m. I'm like, I'll make sure I'm packed in the morning. I said, well, we won't be getting down there till like 10 o'clock. Yeah. He's like, that's okay. I'm like, all right. Just to let you know. He's like, we'll go have dinner at Cracker Barrel, which, oh my God, yeah. And we'll get down there. He said, we'll check in. We'll walk on the boardwalk for a little bit. Because by 10 o'clock, I mean, even us, we're usually in our room by then. And, but luckily the hotel doesn't close their lobby until like 2 a.m. So, yeah. But I probably need to send an email to the person I've been in contact with to let them know that we're going to have a late check-in, just so they're aware. But yeah, I was like, fuck. Like, really? Yeah. But we're looking forward to it, because we have not been anywhere since last year at this time. And let me hold for 1 second. When I do these videos, I usually turn on or turn off the ceiling fan that's in this room, and I'm sitting here sweating. Not sweating, but warm. So I'm like, okay, let me turn the fan back on. Yeah. But yeah, so looking forward to vacay for sure. All right. I started a new book yesterday. Now, normally what happens is I will read a really good book, and then it'll take me like going through 6 samples before I find another one. Now, I've been fortunate. The past couple books I've read, it's been like bang, 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 one after the other. No, this time I had to go through a couple samples, and one of the samples I went through that didn't catch my eye was the new Megan Abbott book, which I was so upset about because I love her books. I've read every single one that she's written. This one just didn't catch my attention. Called The Turnout. Okay, the book I did find to read, though, is from actually 2020, and I don't know. There's so many books out there. I can't see them all, right? So this one is called I Know You Remember, dun, 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 by Jennifer Donaldson. So here is the premise. Zara Gaines is missing. After 3 long years away, Ruthie Hayden arrives in her hometown of Anchorage, Alaska to this devastating news. Zara was Ruthie's best friend, the only person who ever really understood her, and she vows to do whatever it takes to find her. Zara vanished from a party just days before Ruthie's return, but the more people she talks to, the more she realizes that the Zara she knew disappeared long before that fateful night. Gone is the whimsical, artistic girl who loved books and knew Ruthie's every secret. In her place is an athlete, a partier, a girl with secrets of her own. Darker still are the rumors that something happened to Zara while Ruthie was gone, something that changed her forever. As Ruthie desperately tries to piece together the truth, she falls deeper and deeper into her friend's new world, circling closer to a dangerous revelation about what happened to Zara in the days before her disappearance, one that might be better off buried. So I started reading. I've read like the first chapter, and I really like it. So this is the one I'm going to be reading. Yeah, I will link it down below because I always link what I'm reading in the description box. Okay. Are we ready for today's story? So today's story is called No Way to Die. Stacy Fairchild was not the kind of girl to break a curfew. The 17-year-old high school senior lived with her parents and brother in the small town of Lancaster, Ohio. She was unfailingly reliable and trustworthy. But on the cold winter's night of February 2nd, 1989, Stacy was late coming home from her job at the newly constructed River Valley Mall. Usually she would walk through the door at around 9:30 p.m., but tonight that time point came and went with no sight of her. And you know, someone who, and I'm guessing they said that she was reliable and trustworthy because right away then you're going to suspect something, especially if she hasn't called and said, oh, I'm going here doing this. You know, I know that every day Bill is home from work at 3:20. If he isn't in the door at 3:20, I'm already wondering. You know what I mean? Because unless he calls and tells me, oh, I'm stopping at such and such. You know what I mean? Yeah. Okay. So when she had still not appeared an hour later, oh my God, like you're dying, right? Your child. Her father, David, got into his car and drove to the mall, which was about a mile from the family home. He did not see Stacy's car in the lot, and so he returned home hoping that she had arrived in the interim, but she had not. Bad feeling. Their concern now growing, David and his wife Rebecca started calling around. Now remember, this is before the advent of cell phones. This is 1989. I didn't have a cell phone until 1996. Just saying. So they started calling around, contacting anyone who might know where Stacy was, and the first bit of information they got was less than promising. Stacy's boss said that she actually had left work early that evening, departing the store at around 8:45. Oh boy. By midnight, with still no idea as to his daughter's whereabouts, David phoned the police and reported her missing. Yeah, oh boy. At first, Lancaster PD did not regard the report as urgent because this was not the first missing teenager they would have had to deal with and wouldn't be the last. But still, you need to treat each case. You know what I mean? Like, don't dismiss it. Usually the wayward teen showed up within a few hours to sheepishly reveal that they'd been hanging out with friends and had lost track of time. In fact, the police had already formed an opinion on where Stacy might be. Her boyfriend had recently enlisted in the Army and was stationed at a base in Kentucky. It did not seem inconceivable that the lovelorn teen had driven there on a whim to see him. But your parents know you, right? Maybe? Except that Stacy's parents didn't buy that story because she wasn't that kind of girl. She would know that her parents would worry about her and would not put them through that. No, if Stacy was away for this long without sending word, then her family was certain that something had happened to her, and they urged the police to start a search. The police said they would once other avenues had been exhausted. Meanwhile, time is ticking, right? But the investigation was about to take a sinister turn, one that would inject significant urgency into the search effort. So early the following morning, A dog walker reported that he had spotted a burned out car near some railroad tracks. Officers responded to the scene and found the vehicle still smoldering, sitting on bare rims, its tires melted away by the intense heat. The fire had not destroyed the license plate, however, and it was Stacy's car. That's not good. That's not good at all. As the parent, they probably are just sick. So, as crime scene investigators were called to the site, a search was initiated, one that would expand massively over the coming days to include hundreds of police and volunteers, complete with support from the air. In the meantime, local law enforcement called in the FBI to what they now believed was a kidnapping. The thinking behind this was simple because, here we go. David was the vice president of a local bank. They believed that Stacy might have been snatched to use as leverage for a heist. And in no time at all, the Fairchild's living room had been turned into an operations room with taps on the phone and wires running everywhere, but no ransom call ever came. And then, in the midst of this chaos, there was another development. Curtis King, who was Stacy's boyfriend, showed up at the residence. Questioned by police, he said that he was on military leave and was there to pay Stacy a visit. The Fairchilds didn't believe him, and neither did the police. Why didn't they believe him? Curtis had not seen Stacy since his enlistment several months earlier, so for him to show up now, which was so close to her disappearance, seems suspicious. Yeah, that would be, because in months, I haven't been in the military, but I'm guessing you would have some sort of leave in a couple months, right? Yeah, that is weird. Did he kill her? At around 5:30 p.m. on the evening of Sunday, February 6th, the mystery of Stacy's disappearance was tragically resolved. That was when one of the searchers found her body lying on a bank of the Hocking River, nearly in sight of the mall where she had last been seen alive. Stacy was fully clothed and unmarked by any obvious injuries, and an autopsy would later determine that she had water in her lungs, indicating she had drowned and she had also been raped. Ugh, I fucking can't with that. With the discovery of the body, police attention shifted squarely to Curtis King, who had now been elevated to the top of the suspect list. Yeah. As investigators began to question Stacy's friends about her relationship with Curtis, they learned that it was far from harmonious. Curtis had apparently cheated on Stacy several times, yet was reportedly furious when Stacy told him she wanted to date other boys. What's good for the goose is not good for the gander, right? Questioned about this, Curtis further raised suspicion by denying that he and Stacy had a relationship at all, something which was patently untrue. What the fuck? Why would he say that? He then made matters worse for himself by refusing to take a polygraph. You dumb motherfucker. Like, no. If you have nothing to hide, why wouldn't you take one? Right? So all of this put Curtis firmly in the frame as far as the investigative team was concerned. And the problem, though, was that Curtis had an alibi. He had been at his military quarters in Kentucky playing cards with some other soldiers. He was even able to provide documentary proof of this because he had signed in at the mess hall on base at 4:30 that afternoon, and that would have given him insufficient time to drive to Lancaster. So who the fuck did this to her? On the face of it, this looked like a solid alibi, but the police were not about to take Curtis at his word. First, they obtained a copy of the mess hall sign-in form and had it analyzed by a handwriting expert. Smart. The test confirmed that it was indeed Curtis's writing on the page. Then officers made several runs from the military base in Kentucky to the River Valley Mall, and their best time was 6.5 hours. That would have had Curtis get to Lancaster after 11 p.m., more than 2 hours after Stacy disappeared. So the case against Curtis was slipping through their fingers, right? He put it to bed once and for all by agreeing to provide blood for a DNA test, and it didn't match the semen retrieved from Stacy's body. So Curtis didn't do it. And with that, the prime suspect was cleared from the investigation. Detectives next focused their attention on William Fairchild, Stacy's uncle. What? He had made a number of peculiar statements in the wake of his niece's disappearance. First, he admitted he had been at the mall on the night in question. Then he told officers that they might find his footprints in the vicinity of the railroad tracks where Stacy's car was found. What? However, William had an alibi that checked out and his DNA didn't match. So thank God, because can you imagine it being like either the husband or the wife's, I'm guessing the husband's brother? Like, what the fuck? Yeah. So the investigation at this point was stalling. Pretty soon it would grind to a halt, and it would remain so. It would become a cold case for the next 17 years. We love the cold cases, right? On the evening of March 17th, 2006, a young woman named Sarah Turner was tallying up the day's receipts at the Network Tan Salon in Lancaster when a man entered the premises. Sarah told him they were closed, but the man ignored her, rounded the counter, and drew a knife, and before she could utter a sound, he had her in a headlock, pinned up against the wall with the blade to her throat. Okay? What the attacker hadn't reckoned with was Sarah's will to survive. Certain that she'd be killed if she did not escape, Sarah wiggled from the man's grasp and bolted for the door, and with her attacker close behind, she sprinted out onto the sidewalk, screaming for all she was worth. You would too. At that precise moment, a man named Kevin Numbers, can you imagine having that last name, was leaving the ice cream shop next door with his family, and spotting them, the attacker broke off his pursuit of Sarah and fled back into the tanning salon. And the guy actually bravely followed and saw the man scooping cash out of the register. The attacker then saw this Kevin guy enter and fled towards the back of the store, where he exited via a back door and disappeared into the night. And in his haste to do so, he cut himself with his own knife, leaving blood spatters on a wall. Let me guess, the DNA is going to match the semen. Right? We know that that's probably going to happen. So by now, the sound of approaching police sirens could be heard in the distance, and soon the parking lot in front of the salon would be awash with blue and red lights, and crime scene tape had even been strung up, of course. While a badly shaken Sarah related the details of her terrifying ordeal to a detective, crime scene technicians got to work. First off, Sarah, when you're closing up for the night, you fucking lock the door. Yeah. I remember when I worked at a video store when I was in college. When the store closed, I fucking locked the door, because 9 times out of 10 you worked by yourself. You locked the goddamn door. Why didn't she lock the door? He wouldn't even been able to get in. But I digress. Okay. So in such a highly trafficked area, fingerprints are all but useless because so many people coming in and out of that plaza, right? Far more valuable was blood evidence. Samples were collected for submission to the state crime lab, and within a week there was stunning news. The DNA matched an unsolved cold case, the murder of Stacy. That poor girl. So Stacy's case had lain dormant for nearly 2 decades with very little hope that it would ever be solved. Now investigators not only had a DNA match, but they would soon have a name. Submitted to the FBI's CODIS database, the sample dredged up a match, and it belonged to a man named Lendy, Lendy, Lendy William Dysart. So Lancaster police officers were stunned by the result. Oh, God. Lendy was a longtime resident of the town, a man with an extensive police record, a man who was known to many of them. And yet his name had never come up in the original investigation. Perhaps this was because Lendy had been going through one of his rare periods of lawfulness at the time. He had been living with his wife and children in a house that was just a short distance from the mall where Stacy was kidnapped. And all of this time, he had been right there in front of them, hiding in plain sight. So it took the Lancaster police just 2 days to track down Lendy and take him into custody. And initially, the police said nothing about Stacy's murder, questioning him only about the attempted heist at the tanning salon. Despite strong evidence linking him to the crime, Lendy denied that he was their man. Then the questions switched suddenly to murder, and Lendy clammed up, refusing to say another word. Smart, I have to say. But Lendy would eventually open up about the murder he committed 17 years earlier, and he probably at this point thought he got away with it. Right? 17 years. After sitting through his arraignment, David and Rebecca, remember Stacy's parents, decided that they could not endure the torment of a trial with the details of their daughter's terrible death dragged out into the public domain. Yeah, I understand that. They urged the prosecutor to offer Lundy a deal which would allow him to plead to involuntary manslaughter. The only condition was that he would have to provide a full taped confession so that Stacy's parents could finally know what had happened to her and could finally find solace from their anguish. There's going to be no solace, because whatever details this guy gives, as the parent, you will replay those details over and over in your mind for the rest of your life. There's going to be no solace. There won't be. So Lundy, of course, accepted the deal, even if his confession, air quotes, turned out to be a whitewashing of the events. So according to him, he had spotted Stacy crossing the darkened parking lot and had decided to kidnap her. Coming up behind her, he forced her at knife point into her car. He had ordered her to drive, and they spent an hour aimlessly cruising the streets before he told her to take a quiet dirt road that ran alongside the railroad tracks. And it was here in the car that he raped her. From this point on, the details of Lundy's story become patchy and self-serving. According to him, they had walked out onto the railway after the rape, and both of them had fallen, plunging several feet to the ground. He had landed on top of Stacy and had been winded for several minutes. After hauling himself to his feet, he noticed that she wasn't moving, and he assumed she had broken her neck in the fall. But see, the autopsy would have been able to determine that, right? So, Of course, the police knew this was a lie. Stacy had not had injuries consistent with a fall from height, and her neck was certainly not broken. Yeah, dude. Stacy had drowned, and investigators believed that Lundy had deliberately held her head under the waters of the Hocking River, cruelly snuffing out her life to prevent her from reporting the rape. That is no way to die, especially not for an innocent teenager with her whole life ahead of her. I'm sorry. That's no way for anyone to die. Like, that is a horrific, awful... God. So Lundy was sentenced to 7 to 25 years in prison to be served consecutively with the 10 years he received for the tanning salon robbery. Technically, that means that Lundy could be eligible for parole after serving just 15 years. He should not place any great hope in that possibility, however, because the judge at his trial made a pledge to Stacy's parents in his summation. He promised to attend every one of Lundy's parole hearings and to oppose early release at every single turn. You know, there are people that do that, and I get it. I get it. Absolutely. He should not be, especially since he has a rap sheet as long as the day, you know, as long as the day is long, or whatever that saying is. He should not be released from prison at all, ever. No. 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 Did I say no? No. So, we surely need a positive affirmation after that horrific story. Poor Stacy. So, we always end on a positive affirmation from A Year of Positive Thinking by Cindy Spiegel. Today is Wednesday, August 11th. Let me flip to the page. So, this one is called Healing Needs Trust. Only time heals, and even when time passes, we are not always healed in the way we hope to be. So true. However, we will be healed in the way we need to be. Trust that you will be okay, even if being okay today looks different than it did before. You know, going through cancer treatment, certainly not predicting that episode of my life. And then the ending of my grandparents' life, how it ended. Yeah, you're okay after that. I don't know that I'll ever be 100% okay after the passing of my grandparents, for sure. Our family has definitely shrunk. I now literally just have my mom and my dad and my step-parents and my sister and my uncle. That's it. That's all of our family that is left. Now, on my dad's side, there is family, but I haven't seen them in like 4 years. We don't get together. I don't see them. I have aunts and uncles and cousins on that side, but we don't see one another. Yeah, so no matter what you're going through, if you keep in your head that you are going to be okay, you will be. You will. You will. You have to have faith and diamond paint, cross stitch, read, do things that bring you joy. And that's the key too, I think, is finding little pockets of joy in the course of your day, no matter what is going on, because we're all going through something all the time. We are. So I hope you all are having a fantastic Wednesday. As always, if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments section below, and I will answer them to the best of my ability. Thank you so much for watching and subscribing, and I will see you in my next video. Bye, guys.